So first thing I would do is I'm going to try to write this in RSS form, which means I need to figure out the polar coordinates. How do you figure the polar coordinates? Walker, how do you figure out the polar coordinates?
You recording? Whoa.
Polar coordinates.
So.
You want to help Walker out?
Find the hypotenuse.
Find the hypotenuse, right? So we go -1 over here. I go up √3. There's my point. Okay? So I just need to figure out r and theta, right? R would be -1 squared plus √3 squared equals r squared. That's 1 plus 3, equals r squared. 4 equals r squared. R equals plus or minus 2. We're going to just do the plus 2 so we don't have to worry about weird angles. How do I figure out the angle? Put my angle sign right there. It's going to be tangent of theta equals what? √3 over -1. Now look, √3 over 1 is what? It's √3. So it would be 60 degrees. So we'll call it 60 degrees. Now, if this is 60 degrees, what's my actual angle? 120. Oh, 120? You're good. All right, so then I would go, all right, so let's write an RSS form. So we'd write 2 cis 120 degrees to the 8th power. Now notice I've done nothing except change how we write the same exact expression. Okay? I've actually done a lot of work and have accomplished nothing for it. I've taken this ugly thing and written it like this. But now, here's the payoff. Dan Wog says I get to do what? What do I get to do, Bernard?
You have to put it like that. So you have to. Yeah, so it's 2
to the 8th. Cis.
120 times
8 times 120. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64, times 2 is 128, times 2 is 256.
Yes.
Eight, 960 degrees, right?
What?
Now, 960 degrees I don't know how to deal with, right? But how do I deal with it? What do you got for me? Just start getting rid of 360. So that gets me 600 minus 360 gives me 240 degrees. I got 256 cis 240 degrees. So far, so good? Okay. So then, to write it in the normal rectangular form that we're used to, I'm going to expand it back out. We have 256 cosine of 240 degrees plus I sine 240 degrees. Reference angle would be what, Nix? 240 degrees. 60 degrees. So I look up there. 60 degrees tells me I've got what for cosine?
Obviously, it's 1/2.
1/2. Since we're in the third quadrant, it's going to be negative. Plus I. What is sine of 240 degrees? 60 degrees, √3 over 2. Negative.
Yes.
Distribute through my 256, and I get negative 128 minus 128 √3I. And that's how you FOIL it 8 times.
How many angles or radians? How many angles or radians?
Wait, these would be in radians. These would be degrees. Doesn't matter which one we're in.
Yes.
We're just going to use that for that. Yes, ma'am?
Oh.
I don't know. Dan Ward is cool enough. You might want to memorize it. I'll probably put it up. You don't have to stay up late at night memorizing that one. Just remind me because I'll forget in your quizzes next time. Does that make sense? All right, let's see if you got it. Go ahead and try the first problem on the back. You understand everything?
Yeah.
Holy moly, that was fast. All right, good deal.
It makes sense. It's just like cosine, imaginary sine, like one word together.
Well, that's, yeah. But why it works to be like, blah.
Why it works?
Yeah. You don't care about that. All right, moving on. That's probably, that's fair too.
It works. It works. So it works.
Try number one.
Oh,
So
dark is my old
physics
friend.
too.
I knew I'd see you again.
Okay.
All right, everybody remember the steps? What were the steps? Draw it, figure out cis form, then use Demoivre's rule, then turn back into rectangular. By the way, since this is the third power and being nice to you, but if it wasn't if this is the third power and I give you this on a test and you don't use Demoivre's rule, is that okay?
No.
Wait, say that again?
If you don't use Demoivre's rule, if I give you third power, you don't use Demoivre's rule, is that okay with me?
No.
That's fine.
Nope.
It's fine.
Nope.
Okay. We're going to use Demoivre's for the next 6 problems because I'm being nice to you. But anticipate on a test, it's going to be like 100.
Which we can use Damien's rule.
Demoivre's rule.
There
We want to use it.
Yes.
I'm going to try to make it so that the person who foils I get to make fun of.
Maybe.
You definitely did.
Oh, by the way, I'm saying it wrong. How are we supposed to say it, Simone? There you go. That's how it's supposed to really be said.
Well, we can Google how it's supposed to be said, you know, get a professional opinion.
She's got her French. Once you know French, you can say words like that and they make sense.
Mr. Resnick,
Yes.
so is that in polar form?
That's not in polar form. So I have to turn it into polar form. I turn it in our cis form specifically.
Then why does it say express the result in rectangular
I don't
form?
understand.
Because you have 2 options. 1, superfoil
I
that.
understand. I don't understand.
Or 2, go through, turn it to polar,
Do you
do
understand?
your RCS thing,
Oh.
use Demoivre, and then come back and turn it back into rectangular. The last step we did is we went back and turned it to
Oh,
rectangular,
actually, I
right?
can do that.
So we're just making it simpler.
To the blah, blah, blah. What is it called? Reference angle, right? It doesn't give you actually where it is, right? You have to fix that.
Yeah, but
So
it's
since you see it's the third quadrant and you know that's 60 degrees, you put 6 degrees here and realize that's 240, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. We've got -2 squared plus -2 root 3 squared equals r squared. Some people struggle with this. Okay, pay attention to that. Make sure that you're not a struggler on that. This becomes 4 times 3 equals r squared. 4 because 2 squared, these are multiplied, so I can distribute the square on those 2, which is nice. And then that becomes -2 becomes 4, and then root 3 times root 3 is just 3. So this becomes 4 plus 12 or 16 equals r squared. R equals plus or minus 4. Again, we're only going to entertain the positive verb form of it. Again, if we wanted to, we could do the negative and just do a different angle. Would that be okay? Yeah, we can do it. Why? Let's not do new things. Because they're fun. All right, so let's, we got to figure this angle. So we got a tangent of theta equals -2 root 3 over -2. So that'd be just root 3. I don't even need a calculator because root 3 is what?
60.
60 degrees. So this angle here is 60 degrees, which means the actual angle is 240. Now pausing there. We see that? Kind of roughed that up for a while. Chris R. You see it? Okay. Then it's just we're gonna rewrite this in RCS form. The R is 4. Then I'm gonna go cis. The angle is 240 degrees, and I'm gonna raise it to the third power. So far, so good? Dugan, you with me? You
So
got
from
it?
that, you just
You good?
change
All
it to cis form.
So this becomes 4 to the third, cis 3 times 240. What was your question, Margaret?
Nothing.
Okay. 4 to the third is 1664. Cis 270 degrees. 720 degrees, that'd be better.
It's 60. Oh. 60.
How we doing, Dugan? All right. So this becomes, now I've got to turn to rectangular, so it's a normal looking number when we get done. Don't want this trig stuff, that's crazy stuff. So we got 64 cosine 720 degrees. By the way, 720 degrees, I don't know how to deal with, so I'm going to fix that.
It's 0 degrees.
I'm going to fix that, Dugan. Subtract 360, right? Subtract 360, I get 360. That's still a little big. So subtract 360 again, I get 0. So this is just cosine of 0. Or cosine, oops, I did that wrong. Cosine 0 plus I sine of 0. So 64 cosine's 1
Wait.
plus what? Sine of 0 is 0. Distribute through, I get 64. Mr. Resney. Negative 2 minus 2 root 3 to the third power is not 64. Want to bet? Who's got a quarter? No,
I got a
you're gonna
quarter.
bet? You're actually going to bet? No. I won't do that to you because that's just mean. So while you're working on the rest of the problems, I'm going to, over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and do the foiling method. It better be 64, otherwise we need to throw out this whole chapter.
Okay, I'm down.
All right, pausing this.